Hello again, everyone. When we last left off, we talked about some of the context of John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, and we posed this question: is the American dream possible in the historical context of the novel? Well, you've now read the first chapter of the book, so you're starting to get a little sense, though we are still early on. Today, we are going to push our analysis a bit further by talking about four themes that we will be looking at throughout this unit, themes that come up and feature heavily in the story. We'll be looking at the nature of dreams, not dreams like we saw them in Moon of the Crusted Snow, not dreams as in sleeping dreams, but dreams as in things you hope for. Why do we dream of something better? How do we dream in times of turmoil? Our second major theme will be loneliness, feeling isolated. Think back to Romeo and Juliet and the desperate actions that people can take when they are lonely. Think of Moon of the Crusted Snow and how community is so important in that book. Our third theme is powerlessness. What gives some people power and leaves other people behind with no way to change their future? And finally, we'll be looking at the theme of fate. How much of our lives is predetermined and already controlled? How much do we control our own future? So in this video, we are going to go through all four of those themes, talk a little bit about where we'll see them in the book, and look at these key questions. So first up, we have the nature of dreams. Of Mice and Men is a story about the Dust Bowl, the Great Depression, and it is a story about two people who, in the face of all this, hang on to their dreams and aspirations. So it's not just about two individuals, it's about dreams and the forces that work against them. And this makes sense because humans tend to give meaning to their lives by creating dreams. If we don't have goals or dreams of some sort, life can become monotonous, just day after day after day, with little connection or meaning. Even small goals give us some direction. And the main dream in Of Mice and Men is not a huge dream, although it is certainly a significant one. George and Lenny, our main characters, dream of owning a farm of their own. And this dream is so central to the story that in some form or another, it comes up in 5 of the 6 chapters of the books. So if you thought dreams were mentioned a lot in Moon of the Crusted Snow, just you wait. Our 2 key questions for the nature of dreams are there at the bottom. Why do we dream of something better? Does it actually do us any good? And if it does, how can we dream in times of turmoil? How do we hold on to hope even when things are hard? Our second major theme is the theme of loneliness. Again, this came up a lot in Moon of the Crusted Snow. Humans are a communal species. We do a lot of things on our own, but we evolve to live in communities, to take care of each other. And it's built into our DNA. We crave contact with others, whether that's friendship, romance, partnership, game nights, whatever it may be, in order to give life meaning. So loneliness is the lack of contact and connection. Our 2 key questions for loneliness are: how does being lonely affect people? How can being part of a community help? And how can we have community in times of turmoil? Again, think of Moon of the Crusted Snow and how the community on the reservation was strained and tested when times got hard. Our third theme is powerlessness. As you learned about in the previous video, Steinbeck's characters are often the underdogs. They're not the heroes, they're not the rich and powerful, they're people who have everything against them. But he wants to depict them realistically and with compassion. Now, powerlessness is a complex idea. It can take many forms: intellectual, financial, societal, and Steinbeck touches on all of them. We will see many different forms of who has power and who is denied power. So our 2 key questions here are: Do we all have the same amount of power to make our futures better? If not, who has more power and why is that? Last but not least, our final major theme is fate. Humans have always wondered if there is fate, if there is some great power controlling what happens in our lives. Is it just randomness? Is it determined by our own choices? Or is it predetermined? Think about Hadestown, where the fates are characters that are always lurking in the background and changing what happens. In Of Mice and Men, as we know from the title, inspired by this poem about plans falling apart, we will see that George and Lenny have their plan, and then fate steps in, and things get out of their control. So Steinbeck raises the issue of fate and connects it to this idea of community. Given that life is chaotic and unpredictable, should mankind go alone in the world and only look out for themselves, like Scott in Moon of the Crusted Snow? Or should we be responsible and helpful to others who are less fortunate? Should we share what we have with others, even if it means our own life is more difficult? Our two key questions with fate are we predestined to a certain outcome? And how much do we control our own future? So these are the four themes that we will be looking at throughout the book. In chapter 1, you've already seen some things that connect to these four themes. So to finish up 8.1, you are going to find two examples from the text in chapter 1 that connect to one or two of these four themes. You can do the same theme twice, or you can do two different themes once. It is up to you. And on your worksheet, you will put the example quote from the text and how you see a connection with one of these four themes. Good luck!